Hello, everybody. This is Ed Rosenberg, and this afternoon I'm speaking to Aatish from Teikametrics. Aatish, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ed. Thank you so much for having me over. I'm a huge fan of the Amazon Sellers Group TG, your YouTube channel, and your blog posts. Thanks also for mentioning us this morning, Teikametrics, in your blog post. I'm looking forward very much to meeting you, maybe in person, and your sellers as well. On June 15th in New York City, we're doing the Edge event. You guys are all invited. We'd love to see you there. As the CTO at Teikametrics, I'll be there presenting myself, and I would, love the chance to get some one-on-one time with you.
Okay, and I'm looking forward to that as well. It's going to be in the city, and I really appreciate that you guys are doing it. Now, I understand that Amazon.com themselves are going to have some employees there, right? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's right. I mean, we were visiting Seattle, visiting Amazon because we've been working with them for quite a while as their early beta partner on sponsored products. We were on that API when it first launched, and they offered to partner with us on this event. So we will have actual people from the sponsored products team at Amazon at the event talking about the product, talking about sponsored products and best practices. Is going to be an amazing chance, I think, for the attendees to engage with people who are currently at Amazon working there on sponsored products.
Do you know how many Amazon employees are going to be there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we're going to get a small contingent out of there, 2 to 3 folks. I think is about right. But they will be people who are a critical part of the product infrastructure for sponsored products, like people who are really involved in the roadmap and the decision making. So it's going to be great to be able to talk to them about where they're taking SP. And I can tell you just from the time we've spent in Seattle with Amazon, there's a lot going on. I mean, not just sponsored products, with advertising in general, where they're going with their ad tech platform. I think there's some really great discussions to be had with Amazon as a seller about where is advertising going on Amazon as a platform.
Right. Now, a lot of people are, when they hear sponsored ads, and myself, I've spent a lot of advertising on Facebook
Right.
and on AdWords and on SEO, even on the free search engine, but on Google, that costs money too.
Sure.
So, and even though I spent a lot, in the back of my head, I'm always thinking that, look, I'm not paying any commission and I'm retaining this customer forever, but Amazon holds on to its customers real tight.
It does.
So so how is that a long-term benefit if I'm not making?
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, and so look, let's if you look at the world of advertising, and you brought up Facebook. I used to work at Nanigans. I was VP engineering there. They're a company that is one of Facebook's largest advertising partners. We used to run over $800 million worth of Facebook ads through my technology there. Um, Facebook is about finding. You have to go find your customer. You tell Facebook, here's how old, here's where they live, and then you have to go hunt them down. The great thing about AdWords, right, is the point at which you're encountering the customer, they're already searching for what you're selling. So if your ad is showing up in an Amazon sponsored product, it's because the customer searched for something very much like what you've got the buy box on right now. So that's, I think, very powerful in terms of how much conversion you can get on those ads. Now, you bring up a good point, ownership of the customer. Of course, Amazon, you don't get to own the customer in the same way that you would if you did on Google, but this is the closest you're going to get. I say if you can't own the customer's email, the next best thing is own their searches. Own every time somebody searches for something close to your product, it's going, having control over that is a huge benefit, even if it comes on top of your fees and your commissions. Because let's say if there was no sponsored products, you're a private label, you're a brand. You want to break in, you want people to notice your product. How are you going to do it? Right? What other method would you have? Sponsored products gives you the ability to get sales rank, to pay money, to improve sales rank by targeting customers who are searching for your product when it's hot.
Right. Now, do you think that the reviews, because they don't allow incentivized reviews anymore, that sponsored ads have become a lot more popular?
Absolutely. I mean, and there are a lot of different ways in which you could move up the sales rank that are now shut down. And so now if you want to move up sales rank, this is the best way to do it. And I think you bring up a really subtle point here, which is that a lot of people just think about sponsored products in terms of ad spend, ad revenue. But the picture is much bigger because the real power, right, is what it's doing to your organic search. What is it doing for your non-advertising clicks? And that's the only way you're going to be able to move up search rank.
Right, so every new product, probably, you invest heavily in sponsored products, and as it goes up, you pull the rug, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, and if and even I would say in the early stages, if you're launching something new, you invest heavily in sponsor, to the point where I would even recommend if you're a new customer, you consider break even or worse in the beginning because you need to make a name for yourself, right? It's just like any business. You open up a new storefront, the first thing you got to do is make a name for yourself, and that might mean that in the first few weeks, first few months, even you're not breaking even, you're not making a profit. What you're doing though is getting market share. So when you've got a new product, your first step should be, let me have an aggressive sponsored products budget to go with it to get that sales rank and prove that my market exists. To your point, maybe you spend the money and then you find no one's buying, hey, and then you're in the wrong business.
Right.
Right?
Right. Which is also valuable to cut it.
Absolutely. It's a really great way to test. This is something advertisers do all the time. It's a great way to test a new product. Say you're saying, I want to get into a new product line. Is it worth it? Is it going to produce? Put a little sponsored products money against it. See if you're getting pickup. And if you are, you're onto something. If you're not, you're not, and you're not going to invest more heavily. So it can be a really great way to even go and test the market.
Right. So I understand sponsored products, and so where does Teikametrics fit into all this?
It's a great question. If you look at what it takes to actually be successful on sponsored products, you've got however many thousands of SKUs. Each of those guys has some number of keywords. Each of those keywords is hitting up thousands of other search terms. You can end up with so much data. If you look at the search term report, which is the most important report to consider when you're looking at your sponsored products performance, that thing is a monster. It's enormous. And you're expected to somehow get this all into Excel, digest it every single day. It can take hours of your day to keep on top of this and do this right. So what we wanted to do is take a little bit of a different approach on sponsored products, not just provide workflow, but provide real machine learning and automation that helps you take those hours a day and put it where it belongs, in a computer. Because this is what computers are made to do, right? And all day long. This is what they do. They come in, they churn through data, they can go through these big data files in literally seconds, what would it take you hours to do? And they can make really intelligent decisions based on your objectives and help you out. So if you're using, Teikametrics has a sponsored products platform, which will tell you which keywords you should make negative, which keywords you should narrow your targeting on, which keywords you should move from automatic to manual. It adjusts your bids for you. And in about, I'd say, 10, 15 minutes a week, you can manage all your sponsored products needs through the platform.
And you're probably maximizing, not wasting money.
Exactly. You're maximizing. And when we find this, when we first onboard a customer, we see usually a significant percentage of what we call wasted spend, right? And that's because there are a bunch of search terms that you're getting clicks for, which means good for Amazon, they're making their money, but you're getting no sales. And finding those, it's like finding a needle in a haystack looking through this report, putting it into Excel, running these filters, Excel crashes on you. We find all of those right off the bat every single day, and we tell you these search terms, you should make them negative because we see you're getting clicks, we see you're not getting sales, right? Or you're not getting enough sales where you're able to justify the amount of money you're spending. It's not as simple as zero. Everyone's got different targets, different margins. We take all of that into account, and then we tell you what you should negate, and immediately we see improvements. Over 80% of the campaigns we manage, Ed, within the first month, we see improvements on their ACOS.
Right. So let me ask you this, and maybe it's just me, but when I shop on Amazon, I never buy the sponsored ads.
Sure.
Because I always figure that why should I buy from the sponsored ads if they're paying for the ads?
Right.
Am I the only one who thinks like that?
See, I think you're being nice to the seller. I think most buyers don't even know that the seller is paying for that click. But that's a charitable thing to do for the seller. You see the ad, you want to buy their product. you go and search for it organically, so you're not costing the poor guy his click. But I think most buyers, of course, they don't think about that. They click on ads all the time. And here's what's important about sponsored ads too. It's one of the only ways you can get your ad on your competitors' listings, right? So if you're paying for sponsored ads, the seller, the buyer rather, the customer could be looking at a competitor's listing, and because of your sponsored ad spend, you get placement there. You get a chance to jump in, and that's huge.
Yeah, no, but two things. I didn't mean buy it from the sponsored ad. I mean, if let's say I search for Wi-Fi extender,
Sure.
so I'll see 2 or 3 on top as sponsored ads.
Right.
And then I always buy the ones not the sponsored ads because in back of my head I'm thinking that if these guys paid for it could be more money if they just paid for the ads.
Because and you're doing that math, and that's great because you're thinking to yourself, look, if they're paying for those ads, then clearly their price mustn't be the best price.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: if you're getting served a sponsored ad, it's because that seller has the buy box. Now we know that Amazon really is very price sensitive around that buy box, right? So if you see a sponsored ad as an end user, as a buyer on Amazon, you can be guaranteed to some extent that when you click on that guy, you're going to get to a buy box that's competitive. Because Amazon doesn't give, when we know this, it doesn't give that buy box away easily. So I think there is, even as a buyer, a good reason to click on those sponsored ads because you're going to get the question you should really be asking yourself is, you're really shopping, you're comparing the quality of the product itself. And the way the human mind works, and we know this from Google, we know this from years and years of search results, you're going to click the things on top.
Yeah.
You're just, the first things you see, especially if you know that Amazon's behind you, making sure that the buy box is competitive, you don't have to worry about the fact that the guy's paying more for the click. You're going to get a good price.
Now, is that a feature, because I was trying to once figure it out, is that a feature within Amazon sponsored ads that I can list myself against, that I can show up against a competitor's a hot item, or is it that I have to just play with the keywords?
Well, so you can't specifically ask that your ads show up that way, but if your search terms are relevant to your product, even if they're competitors, let's say you and I are both selling the same kind of product, the same category, right? You're not investing in sponsored ads, but I am. That means that most often when people search, they're going to see me at the top above you. It's as simple as that. And if you're bidding more than me, they'll see you more than me, right? And so there's a definitive competitive advantage to outspending your competitor. But obviously, you got to be smart. If you're just spending more than me to the point where you're not able to make money, eventually you'll run out of budget, you'll run out of money, and I'll end up winning. I'll be the turtle in the hare, right? I'll win by just going slow but long. So that's why you need software to be able to do this for you, because the software knows where your profitability is, it knows what your targets are, and it makes sure that you're spending but not too much. You're spending within your means, and you can run fast and long.
Right. Now, the natural thing for a seller to do when they set up sponsored ads is to just put it on, an automatic and just goodbye.
Right.
Why is that no good?
No, I mean, it's terrible because what automatic does is that Amazon just splurges on a whole bunch of keywords. So automatic is a great way to do what we call exploring, right? It helps you find new keywords that you would maybe never think yourself to put in, because Amazon's just going to try bidding you against a whole bunch of keywords. So it's very inefficient, but it's great at covering a lot of ground. Now, the way we use automatic is our software looks at where your automatic spend is, and it picks out the keywords that Amazon has found for you and moves them into manual. So now you can double down on those guys, right? And it removes them from the automatic. So now your automatic got a little bit more efficient, and you have your manual spend on those keywords that you're going to be able to increase and control. So you're getting the benefit of that exploration, and we call that exploit. So we have the explore, which is automatic, and exploit, which is manual, which is when you know something works, double down on that sucker.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. So the automatic is always getting smaller and smaller.
Exactly. Well, hopefully not, because Amazon keeps trying to keep exploring for you. So it's just generating more and more keywords, right? And now at some point you may find diminishing returns there, but for most product categories, Amazon will you want to keep an automatic campaign going at all times because you want to keep testing the market for new keywords. As search terms, they're seasonal. People search for different things different times a year. You never know what else is happening in the marketplace that's going to provoke a search term. Maybe a news article, maybe something someone saw on TV. So you want to keep exploring the space all the time.
Wow. Okay, so who basically is sponsored products for? Is it small private? Is it just private label sellers?
No, I think everybody benefits. I think everybody benefits, big or small. So like we were saying earlier, you brought this up. If you're a small seller and you're getting started and you just want to know, do I have something that works, right? Especially if you're private label. Now for private label or brand, it's a no-brainer. You have to do this. You just have to do this. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you're not doing this, your brand's not going to be able to compete. You're not going to get noticed. You're going nowhere. For resellers, it's a little bit more complicated. It's still very valuable because at the end of the day, you know that there's lots of other brands in your category other than the ones you're selling, and you want to be sure that your brand is getting the most juice. So this is a little strange if you think about it. If you and I are reselling the same item, we're helping each other out every time we spend $1 on sponsored products because we're helping whatever we're selling go up in the search rankings together. Mm-hmm. So in a weird way, it helps resellers of the same item to cooperate behind the scenes to make sure that Adidas shoe or that Nike shirt or whatever it is moving up the sales rank.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. But how would you compare the value of spending on sponsored products compared to, let's say, Facebook ads going to your Amazon listing, which I've done, or Google ads? Because isn't it the same thing?
It wouldn't be. So with the tricky part about the Facebook advertising, right, is that you have to know who your audience is exactly, and then you have to hope that you find them on Facebook, and then you have to hope that when they see your ad, you have the buy box. Now, it's no good to you if you're running a campaign on Facebook. You can't, if they see the ad and click on it and it's not your buy box, you could literally be sending traffic to your competitor. Right?
Right. Or if you run out of stock, it's going to keep going.
Or if you run out of stock, right? So, but we know, and one of the things that we do for our customers is we have a concept of their inventory. We're working on building our sponsored products platform so it's capable of actually understanding when you're running low on something and when you've got lots of it, and actually helps you do things like say, I want to liquidate. Okay, great. Let's advertise the heck out of this thing and get it out of your warehouse. So sponsored products, the great thing about it is when the person sees your ad, you know two things. You have the buy box, they want to buy what you're selling. And that's really hard to beat, frankly.
Right. So if you're the only one selling an item, but you don't have the buy box, which happens, sponsored ads wouldn't work.
Well, so the way that it works is the good news is Amazon never makes you pay if you don't have the buy box. So they would never even see your ad if you didn't currently hold the buy box, right? So in that way, it's a pretty fair system. You're never going to be in a position where you end up accidentally sending traffic to someone else.
Right, but you could do it for seller fulfilled too, right?
Yes.
It's not just FBA. Okay, you guys talk a lot about ACOS, but how much you spend. I think that's the percentage. If it's $100 item and you spend $25 an order, so you spend 20. Your ACOS is 25. Is that the best metric to measure success?
It is. It's a good metric, and I think it's something you've got to keep your eye on. But I think there's a lot more going on. So if all you do is focus on ACOS, it's going to lead you wrong. And here's why. It's a little bit complicated, so bear with me. There's this thing called an attribution window, which is that if you spend $1 in advertising today, you may get sales from that dollar for up to the next day, the next week, maybe even the next month. If you're selling jewelry, people could think about that piece that they saw for weeks. They could have been looking. They could have seen it a month before their partner's anniversary or whatever it might be. So you may not realize a sale from that ad spend, from that click, for a really long time afterwards. So your ACOS for any given day isn't exactly where it's going to keep moving up and down even over time. So what we see a lot is customers get really tied up with, oh, my ACOS today is up, my ACOS today is down. It's like, you can't do it that way. You have to look at ACOS as a long-term trend. And again, this is where computers come in. You have to really measure it using a weighted smoothing formula over the past 30 to 60 days, depending on the type of product you're selling. So when we show you ACOS graphs, we do some heavy math in the background to try and make sure that you're seeing it blended. The other thing ACOS tells you nothing about is how your ad spend is affecting your organic sales, right? And so it doesn't tell you. So what if your ad spend only got you $1 of ad revenue? It may have gotten you $10 of organic revenue because your sales rank went up. And ACOS doesn't tell you that story at all. And so I'll give you a little teaser, right? At the conference at Edge on the 15th of June in New York, I want to talk about this a little more during my presentation. We've got some ideas for other kinds of metrics we're developing that we think could be really useful to enhance how you think about advertising.
Right. Okay, great. Now, Teikametrics, yep. Did I cut you short?
No, please.
Yeah, Teikametrics, basically, how long does an average customer spend running, once it's set up, how long does it take to run the campaigns? How much work are they putting in once they implemented this software?
Yeah, I mean, through the software. I mean, once the software is up and ticking, we pull all of your reports, analyze the reports, give you the results. All you have to do is select which results of ours you want to take and push a button. So our customers are able to manage thousands of SKUs, hundreds and hundreds of keywords with a few clicks of a button, looking at it maybe 1 or 2 times a week for a few minutes, right? It's because this is what computers do, right? They're thinking for you even when you're not. You're asleep, but that thing is awake. It's pulling the reports and doing the analysis. So when you wake up the next morning, you go in, you take a look, you select which results you want, and you hit a button and you're there. As opposed to you have to download some CSV. That's going to take some time. Your internet connection is slow. Now you have to put it into Excel. Excel's going to crash on you a couple of times. Now you've got some filter you got to make, macros you've got to make in Excel. It can just be really painful doing this manual. Hours to work a day.
And how long does it take to implement to onboard a new customer?
Half an hour.
Really?
Yep. We onboard our customers in about a half an hour.
And in a half hour, you can go from, let's say, having a full-time person running your PPC.
Yep.
To twice a week, 15 minutes.
Yes, absolutely. And because all we have to do during that half hour is go, Ed, what do you want your targets to be? What do you want your ACOS targets to be for these campaigns? You tell us those numbers, we put them into the computer, and then the computer makes sure you meet them.
Can you give me a ballpark figure what an average private label's ACOS is? At 15?
You know what? It's really important. It totally depends because it's margin dependent, right? And if you've got a high margin product, your ACOS could be very high because you can afford to go much higher than that. If you've got a low margin product, you might need to be in the single digits, right? So we've found it's a radically variable number depending on the category of goods you're selling and what kind of margins you've got on top of those goods. And obviously where you are in the life cycle. If you're trying to break open a new brand, you might tolerate 20% ACOS, right? You might give away all your margin to break in to a new market in the beginning, but once you've reached a position of maturity and you have the best product in a lock on a category, you're going to want to drive for profitability and drive to lower ACOS.
And how did that work? Is it because the reviews are better so you get more sales, or you just lower the bids?
So what you do is our software automation goes in and says, since you're aiming for a lower ACOS target, we do lower your bidding, right, and make sure that that's responding, and we get more aggressive with your keywords, right? And so you're exploring less, you're exploiting more, less on automatic campaigns, less on just exploring the universe, and more on doubling down. Because once you've been running our software for a while, we know that you've got a good book of keywords, and the exploration piece gets smaller and smaller for a given SKU because we know we've juiced the system. Now we help you double down on the stuff we've discovered for you.
Right, so you'll up the bids and the good keywords.
Yes.
It becomes a money machine, essentially.
Exactly. That you just print cash.
Wow. Yeah, I could
Yeah.
definitely see the value. Because I used to spend on AdWords and on Facebook ads. You'd wake up and you make one mistake, and you could spend $300, $500 a day and get zero orders.
Right. I mean, you think about an Excel spreadsheet with hundreds and hundreds of rows. How easy is it to, slip a finger and you type in a bid that's, a buck 20 instead of 12 cents? Like it could really mess you up.
Right. Okay, cool. How should your advertising strategy work with your overall retail objectives?
So it's a good question. So I think when you're looking at a campaign, you want to ask yourself the fundamental question: what am I optimizing for? Do I want sales or do I want profit? Right. Another way to put that is you might be in a position where you're like, do I want sales rank or do I want to just capitalize on where I am? And so depending on that, you want to set your ACOS target to be higher or lower. Or you may be in a position where you need to liquidate. Let's say you've got a product that isn't moving. You've got long-term storage fees you're paying. You're stuck in the FBA warehouses. You need to get this off your plate. Your strategy should be to get your ACOS as high as it can get to the number of clients. I'll tell you something. If you've got a really successful product, your problem isn't ACOS. Your problem is actually getting reach, because there's only so many people searching. So eventually, when you get mature, you get to the point where you're less worried about ACOS and you're more worried about actually managing to spend through your budget, and you're more worried about finding good keywords that'll get you more of those search terms because you're already capturing so many of the customers that are out there, right? So depending on the objective you have, liquidation, breaking in a new product, doubling down on an existing product which you've already got a mature market, you want to set that ACOS target differently.
Right. Now, besides for the Amazon automatic feature, how else do you find new keywords?
So it's a great question. I mean, the automatic feature is a really strong one. The other thing you can do is broad match. When you have keywords, start them out broad, right? And then what happens is if you've got a broad keyword, black boots, let's say, right? You can get any combination of any word black, any word boots, and any word boots, any word black. Like you get all of these different things that Amazon tries. So you can start out with broad keywords, and that helps you find exact ones. And this is something else our software does, is if you have those broad keywords, we find search terms and get exact phrases out of them that are working for you. So, and we'll find keywords out of that you would not have found because you started bidding broadly. So automatic is one way to explore. Broad keywords is another great way to explore. Broad or phrase is another great way to explore.
But the software does it.
Sorry?
The software does it? Finding the great keywords.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So what will happen is the software will go through and look at which keywords, what your search term performance was like, and say, you know what, for the black boots keyword, winter black boots as a specific search term is doing great for you. Why don't you pull that out and make that an exact keyword? And the advantage to making something exact versus broad is that there are fewer people bidding on it, so your bid is going to end up mattering more. Let's say you and I were bidding on the same keyword and you were broad and I was exact. You'd blow your budget on a whole bunch of search terms that were all over the place, but I would be narrowing in on the one thing that worked. So we help you get more and more targeted, and the more targeted you get, the more efficient your ad spend gets, the lower your ACOS gets.
Right, like if you have this I've noticed myself, if you have a private label brand and you have your model number, if someone's searching for your model number, 50% buy.
Exactly.
And if someone's searching for so the more generic you go, the less you're gonna. Or sometimes they put in like shock motorcycle audio sucks, right?
Well, right. That's even worse. You might end up with people who don't like your product. I mean, but so this is exactly why you need the software looking through these giant reports, because you're not going to catch this with the naked eye, with everyone looking through thousands of lines of CSV.
No, who's got the time for it anyways? So
who's got the patience?
Yeah. Now, aside for sponsored ads, what else does Teikametrics do?
So it's a great question. We, aside from the sponsored products, we offer an entire retail automation platform that helps you with inventory, reordering, profit and loss and making sure you know where your money and your capital is at any given time, with repricing as well, with product discovery. We have an entire suite that works along with our sponsored products tools to give you basically everything you need in order to be a third-party seller on Amazon and manage your business. Because, let's face it, I think the thing that we know is it's a lot of work. We are doing what Target and Walmart are doing, but we're doing it as individuals. And those guys have God only knows how much money and how many developers working on building their software. And we've got to make, so that's what we want to do, is we want to bring the same power that those big retailers have and give it to the third-party seller.
But it's all Amazon.
And it's currently Amazon, but we also have a Shopify product, and we'd love for you to, your listeners to ask us about that. We're doing some really interesting work with Shopify and with Facebook.
But how about like eBay and Walmart yet? No?
Question. Yeah, we're going down that road. So that's coming soon to a platform near you. So we're excited about moving down the road and building. The vision for us, Ed, is to build a single platform that's across all the channels. Because as a seller, you don't want to have to think, oh, how am I doing on eBay? Well, should I put this on eBay? Should I put this on Amazon? You just want to list your products, spend your time negotiating with your suppliers, figuring out which new products to sell, right? And hopefully having a life outside of Amazon. And so, we want to build that single platform down the road that allows you to do that across all the different channels.
Well, yeah, having a life outside of Amazon, yeah, something. Now, it seems to me the average, like you're targeting like sellers doing at least $100,000 a month. Is that correct?
I mean, no, that's for our larger platform, for the sponsored products, sellers with a lot lower monthly revenue can benefit from investing in sponsored products, because you don't need to invest a lot of money to get a little bit of return. So, sellers with much smaller revenue numbers on a monthly basis are benefiting from our sponsored products offering. We have lots of those new sellers starting out that have only a few $1,000s in ad spend or what have you, that are actually using our product to do that discovery, do that explore, exploit loop, and growing their businesses. We like to say we start our sellers out small, but you stick with us and you end up big.
Right. No, the sponsored ad thing makes a lot of sense to me.
It made sense to us too when Amazon talked to us about being an early partner on this API. This is again coming back to sort of the whole conference of what we're doing here. It was huge for us, to be an early partner with Amazon itself on this API and like get a chance, and to host an event with them in New York on the 15th. We think sponsored products is an enormous offering from Amazon to the seller, and I think learning how to use it right is going to be the name of the game in terms of differentiating yourself. If you think about it this way, in the early days of sponsored products, there were the sellers that did and the sellers that didn't. And the sellers that did were winning. But now everybody's doing it. So now how do you get an edge? There's going to be the sellers that use computers and use machine learning, and the sellers that don't and use Excel. And that's what's going to be the difference down the road.
Wow. Amazing. Okay, that was really great. Anything else you'd like to say in closing?
It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for the great questions. Again, I look forward to seeing you on the 15th of June in New York City at the Edge conference. Please tell your listeners to get in touch. We'd love to see you and have you talk to Amazon itself about the sponsored products offering.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm planning on being there. So thank you so much, and that was really great. I really appreciate it.
Have a good one, Ed. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.